Hello and welcome to the course of Electronic Commerce. My name is Engineer Dr. Amir Manzoor and I will be your course instructor. This course challenges students to explore the realities and implications of electronic commerce from a marketer's perspective. The course introduces students to a wide range of electronic commerce issues for marketers, as a foundation for continual learning in the dynamic electronic commerce environment. The growth of the Internet continues to have a tremendous influence on business. Companies and organizations of all types and sizes are rethinking their strategies and how they run their operations. At the completion of the course, students will be able to gain an understanding of the theories and concepts underlying electronic commerce. Students will be able to apply electronic commerce theory and concepts to what electronic marketers are doing in the real world. Students will also improve familiarity with current challenges and issues in electronic commerce. The recommended textbook for this course is Electronic Commerce 2016 by Lawton and Traver. The reference text would be Electronic Commerce 2016 by Amir Manzoor. This course is all about electronic commerce, the use of the Internet, the World Wide Web, and mobile apps and browsers running on mobile devices to transact business. Although the terms Internet and web are often used interchangeably, they are actually two very different things. The Internet is a worldwide network of computer networks, and the web is one of the Internet's most popular services, providing access to billions of web pages. An app, shorthand for application, is a software application. The term is typically used when referring to mobile applications, although it is also sometimes used to refer to desktop computer applications as well. A mobile browser is a version of web browser software accessed via a mobile device. More formally, we focus on digitally enabled commercial transactions between and among organizations and individuals. Digitally enabled transactions include all transactions mediated by digital technology. For the most part, this means transactions that occur over the Internet, the web, or via mobile devices. Commercial transactions involve the exchange of value across organizational or individual boundaries in return for products and services. Exchange of value is important for understanding the limits of electronic commerce. Without an exchange of value, no commerce occurs. There is a debate about the meaning and limitations of both electronic commerce and e-business. We believe they refer to different phenomena. Electronic commerce, in the popular sense, can be defined as the use of the Internet and the web to conduct business transactions. A more technical definition would be that electronic commerce involves digitally enabled commercial transactions between and among organizations and individuals. Electronic commerce differs from electronic business in that no commercial transaction, an exchange of value across organizational or individual boundaries, takes place in electronic business. Electronic business is the digital enablement of transactions and processes within a firm and therefore does not include any exchange in value. Electronic commerce and electronic business intersect at the business firm boundary at the point where internal business systems link up with suppliers. For instance, electronic business turns into electronic commerce when an exchange of value occurs across firm boundaries. For example, a company's online inventory control mechanisms are a component of e-business, but such internal processes do not directly generate revenue for the firm from outside businesses or consumers, as electronic commerce, by definition, does. It is true, however, that a firm's e-business infrastructure provides support for online electronic commerce exchanges. The same infrastructure and skill sets are involved in both e-business and electronic commerce. From our discussion so far, we can differentiate electronic commerce and e-business on three aspects. First is the scope of transactions. The scope of transactions is larger in electronic commerce. Second is the level of integration. Since electronic commerce involves larger number of people and systems, it is understandable that level of integration required in electronic commerce is higher. Similarly, the level of complexity of the overall system is also high in case of electronic commerce. The reason for the interest specifically in electronic commerce is that electronic commerce technology is different and more powerful than any of the other technologies we have seen in the past century. Electronic commerce technologies and the digital markets that result have brought about some fundamental, unprecedented shifts in commerce. While these other technologies transformed economic life in the 20th century, the evolving Internet and other information technologies are shaping the 21st century. Prior to the development of electronic commerce, the marketing and sale of goods was a mass marketing and sales force-driven process. Marketers viewed consumers as passive targets of advertising and branding campaigns. These campaigns intended to influence their long-term product perceptions and immediate purchasing behavior. Companies sold their products via well-insulated channels. Consumers were trapped by geographical and social boundaries, unable to search widely for the best price and quality. Information about prices, costs, and fees could be hidden from the consumer, creating profitable information asymmetries for the selling firm. Information asymmetry refers to any disparity in relevant market information among parties in a transaction. It was so expensive to change national or regional prices in traditional retailing that one national price was the norm, and dynamic pricing to the marketplace, let alone to individuals in the marketplace changing prices in real time, was unheard of. In this environment, manufacturers prospered by relying on huge production runs of products that could not be customized or personalized. One of the shifts that electronic commerce is bringing about is a reduction in information asymmetry among market participants, that is, consumers and merchants. Preventing consumers from learning about costs, price discrimination strategies, and profits from sales becomes more difficult with electronic commerce, and the entire marketplace potentially becomes highly price competitive. At the same time, online merchants gain considerable market power over consumers by using consumer personal information in ways inconceivable 10 years ago to maximize their revenues. Here we shall discuss 8 unique features of electronic commerce technology that both challenge traditional business thinking and explain why we have so much interest in e-commerce. These unique dimensions of e-commerce technologies suggest many new possibilities for marketing and selling. A powerful set of interactive, personalized, and rich messages are available for delivery to segmented, targeted audiences. E-commerce technologies make it possible for merchants to know much more about consumers and to be able to use this information more effectively than was ever true in the past. Online merchants can use this information to develop new information asymmetries, enhance their ability to brand products, charge premium prices for high-quality service, and segment the market into an endless number of subgroups, each receiving a different price. To complicate matters further, these same technologies make it possible for merchants to know more about other merchants than was ever true in the past. This presents the possibility that merchants might collude on prices rather than compete and drive overall average prices up. This strategy works especially well when there are just a few suppliers. The unique features of e-commerce technology include the following. The first feature is ubiquity. In traditional commerce, a marketplace is a physical place you visit in order to transact. In traditional commerce, customers go to a store to make a purchase. E-commerce, in contrast, is characterized by its ubiquity, that is, it is available just about everywhere, at all times. It liberates the market from being restricted to a physical space and makes it possible to shop from your desktop, at home, at work, or even from your car, using mobile e-commerce. The result is called a market space, a marketplace extended beyond traditional boundaries and removed from a temporal and geographic location. From a consumer point of view, ubiquity reduces transaction costs, that is, the costs of participating in a market, and lowers the cognitive energy, or mental effort, required to transact in a market space. The second feature is global reach. Global reach means that the potential market size for electronic commerce is roughly equal to the size of the online population of the world. E-commerce technology permits commercial transactions to cross cultural, regional, and national boundaries far more conveniently and cost-effectively than is true in traditional commerce. As a result, the potential market size for e-commerce merchants is roughly equal to the size of the world's online population. More realistically, the Internet makes it much easier for start-up e-commerce merchants within a single country to achieve a national audience than was ever possible in the past. The total number of users or customers an e-commerce business can obtain is a measure of its reach. In contrast, most traditional commerce is local or regional. It involves local merchants or national merchants with local outlets. Television and radio stations, and newspapers, for instance, are primarily local and regional institutions with limited but powerful national networks that can attract a national audience. In contrast to e-commerce technology, these older commerce technologies do not easily cross national boundaries to a global audience. The third feature is universal standards. One strikingly unusual feature of e-commerce technologies is that the technical standards of the Internet, and therefore the technical standards for conducting e-commerce, are universal standards. They are shared by all nations around the world. In contrast, most traditional commerce technologies differ from one nation to the next. For instance, television and radio standards differ around the world, as does cell phone technology. The universal technical standards of e-commerce greatly lower market entry costs. At the same time, for consumers, universal standards reduce search costs, the effort required to find suitable products. And by creating a single, one-world market space, where prices and product descriptions can be inexpensively displayed for all to see, price discovery becomes simpler, faster, and more accurate. Users, both businesses and individuals, also experience network externalities, benefits that arise because everyone uses the same technology. With e-commerce technologies, it is possible to easily find many of the suppliers, prices, and delivery terms of a specific product anywhere in the world, and to view them in a coherent, comparative environment. The fourth feature is information richness. Information richness refers to the complexity and content of a message. Traditional markets, national sales forces, and small retail stores have great richness. They are able to provide personal, face-to-face service using oral and visual cues when making a sale. The richness of traditional markets makes them a powerful selling or commercial environment. Prior to the development of the web, there was a trade-off between richness and reach. The larger the audience reached, the less rich the message. E-commerce technologies have the potential for offering considerably more information richness than traditional media such as printing presses, radio, and television because they are interactive and can adjust the message to individual users. Chatting with an online salesperson, for instance, comes very close to the customer experience in a small retail shop. The richness enabled by e-commerce technologies allows retail and service merchants to market and sell complex goods and services that heretofore required a face-to-face presentation by a sales force to a much larger audience. The fifth feature is interactivity. E-commerce technologies allow for interactivity, meaning they enable two-way communication between merchant and consumer and among consumers. Traditional television, for instance, cannot ask viewers questions or enter into conversations with them, or request that customer information be entered into a form. In contrast, all of these activities are possible on an e-commerce site and are now commonplace with smartphones, social networks, and Twitter. Interactivity allows an online merchant to engage a consumer in ways similar to a face-to-face experience. The sixth, information density. E-commerce technologies vastly increase information density, that is the total amount and quality of information available to all market participants, consumers, and merchants alike. E-commerce technologies reduce information collection, storage, processing, and communication costs. At the same time, these technologies greatly increase the currency, accuracy, and timeliness of information, making information more useful and important than ever. As a result, information becomes more plentiful, less expensive, and of higher quality. A number of business consequences result from the growth in information density. In e-commerce markets, prices and costs become more transparent. Price transparency refers to the ease with which consumers can find out the variety of prices in a market. Cost transparency refers to the ability of consumers to discover the actual costs merchants pay for products. Sinha, 2000. However, there are advantages for merchants as well. Online merchants can discover much more about consumers. This allows merchants to segment the market into groups willing to pay different prices and permits them to engage in price discrimination, selling the same goods, or nearly the same goods, to different targeted groups at different prices. For instance, an online merchant can discover a consumer's avid interest in expensive exotic vacations, and then pitch expensive exotic vacation plans to that consumer at a premium price, knowing this person is willing to pay extra for such a vacation. At the same time, the online merchant can pitch the same vacation plan at a lower price to more price-sensitive consumers. Merchants also have enhanced abilities to differentiate their products in terms of cost, brand, and quality. The seventh feature is personalization and customization. E-commerce technologies permit personalization, that is, merchants can target their marketing messages to specific individuals by adjusting the message to a person's name, interests, and past purchases. The technology also permits customization, changing the delivered product or service based on a user's preferences or prior behavior. Given the interactive nature of e-commerce technology, much information about the consumer can be gathered in the marketplace at the moment of purchase. With the increase in information density, a great deal of information about the consumer's past purchases and behavior can be stored and used by online merchants. The result is a level of personalization and customization unthinkable with traditional commerce technologies. For instance, you may be able to shape what you see on television by selecting a channel, but you cannot change the contents of the channel you have chosen. In contrast, the online version of the Wall Street Journal allows you to select the type of news stories you want to see first, and gives you the opportunity to be alerted when certain events happen. Personalization and customization allow firms to precisely identify market segments and adjust their messages accordingly. The eighth feature is social technology. Electronic commerce technologies have evolved to be much more social by allowing users to create and share content with a worldwide community. Using these forms of communication, users are able to create new social networks and strengthen existing ones. All previous mass media in modern history, including the printing press, used a broadcast model where content is created in a central location by experts and audiences are concentrated in huge aggregates to consume a standardized product. The telephone would appear to be an exception, but it is not a mass communication technology. Electronic commerce technologies have the potential to invert this standard media model by giving users the power to create and distribute content on a large scale, and permit users to program their own content consumption. Electronic commerce technologies provide a unique, many-to-many model of mass communication. Table 1.2 provides a summary of each of the unique features. There are several different types of electronic commerce and many different ways to characterize them. For the most part, we distinguish different types of electronic commerce by the nature of the market relationship, who is selling to whom. Mobile, social, and local e-commerce can be looked at as subsets of these types of e-commerce. The most commonly discussed type of electronic commerce is B2C electronic commerce, in which online businesses attempt to reach individual consumers. B2C commerce includes purchases of retail goods, travel services, and online content. B2C has grown exponentially since 1995 and is the type of electronic commerce that most consumers are likely to encounter. Within the B2C category, there are many different types of business models. Chapter 2 has a detailed discussion of 7 different B2C business models: portals, online retailers, content providers, transaction brokers, market creators, service providers, and community providers. B2B electronic commerce, in which businesses focus on selling to other businesses, is the largest form of electronic commerce. B2B electronic commerce has significant growth potential. The ultimate size of B2B electronic commerce is potentially huge. There are 2 primary business models used within the B2B arena: net marketplaces, which include electronic distributors, electronic procurement companies, exchanges and industry consortia, and private industrial networks. C2C e-commerce provides a way for consumers to sell to each other, with the help of an online market maker also called a platform provider such as eBay or etc., the classified site Craigslist, or on-demand service companies such as Airbnb and Uber. In C2C electronic commerce, the consumer prepares the product for market, places the product for auction or sale, and relies on the market maker to provide catalog, search engine, and transaction clearing capabilities so that products can be easily displayed, discovered, and paid for. Mobile electronic commerce refers to the use of mobile devices to enable online transactions. M-commerce involves the use of cellular and wireless networks to connect laptops, smartphones such as the iPhone and Android phones, and tablet computers such as the iPad to the Internet. Once connected, mobile consumers can conduct transactions, including stock trades, in-store price comparisons, banking, travel reservations, and more. M-commerce purchases. Social electronic commerce is electronic commerce that is enabled by social networks and online social relationships. It is sometimes also referred to as Facebook commerce, but in actuality is a much larger phenomenon that extends beyond just Facebook. The growth of social electronic commerce is being driven by a number of factors, including the increasing popularity of social sign-on, network notification, and online collaborative shopping tools, and social search. Social sign-on refers to signing onto websites using your Facebook or other social network ID. Network notification refers to the sharing of approval or disapproval of products, services, and content via Facebook's like button or Twitter tweets. Online collaborative shopping tools, and social search refers to recommendations from online trusted friends. Local electronic commerce is a form of electronic commerce that is focused on engaging the consumer based on his or her current geographic location. Local merchants use a variety of online marketing techniques to drive consumers to their stores. Local electronic commerce is the third prong of the mobile, social, local electronic commerce wave, and fueled by an explosion of interest in local on-demand services such as Uber, is expected to grow in the United States to over $25 billion in 2015. Table 1. 3 lists the major types of electronic commerce discussed here. E-commerce has gone through 3 stages: innovation, consolidation, and reinvention. First, we shall discuss the invention stage. The early years of e-commerce were a period of explosive growth and extraordinary innovation, beginning in 1995 with the first widespread use of the web to advertise products. During this invention period, e-commerce meant selling retail goods, usually quite simple goods, on the internet. There simply was not enough bandwidth for more complex products. Marketing was limited to unsophisticated stat display ads and not very powerful search engines. The web policy of most large firms, if they had one at all, was to have a basic static website depicting their brands. The rapid growth in e-commerce was fueled by over $125 billion in venture capital. This period of e-commerce came to a close in 2000 when stock market valuations plunged, With thousands of companies disappearing, the dot-com crash. It was also a time when key e-commerce concepts were developed. Internet was not controlled by anyone or any nation, but was free to all. It was believed that e-commerce would remain a self-governed, self-regulated environment. Economists considered e-commerce a realistic prospect of a nearly perfect competitive market, where price, cost, and quality information are equally distributed, a nearly infinite set of suppliers compete against one another, and customers have access to all relevant market information worldwide. In essence, the invention stage was driven largely by visions of profiting from new technology, with the emphasis on quickly achieving very high market visibility. The source of financing was venture capital funds. The ideology of the period emphasized the ungoverned Wild West character of the web and the feeling that governments and courts could not possibly limit or regulate the Internet. There was a general belief that traditional corporations were too slow and bureaucratic, too stuck in the old ways of doing business, to get it to be competitive in e-commerce. Young entrepreneurs were therefore the driving force behind e-commerce, backed by huge amounts of money invested by venture capitalists. The emphasis was on disrupting, destroying, traditional distribution channels and disintermediating existing channels, using new pure online companies who aimed to achieve impregnable first-mover advantages. Overall, this period of e-commerce was characterized by experimentation, capitalization, and hyper-competition. In the consolidation stage, emphasis was shifted to a more business-driven approach rather than being technology-driven. Large traditional firms learned how to use the web to strengthen their market positions. Brand extension and strengthening became more important than creating new brands. Financing shrunk as capital markets shunned start-up firms. And traditional bank financing based on profitability returned. During this period of consolidation, e-commerce changed to include not just retail products but also more complex services such as travel and financial services. This period was enabled by widespread adoption of broadband networks in American homes and businesses, coupled with the growing power and lower prices of personal computers that were the primary means of accessing the Internet, usually from work or home. Marketing on the Internet increasingly meant using search engine advertising targeted to user queries, rich media and video ads, and behavioral targeting of marketing messages based on ad networks and auction markets. The web policy of both large and small firms expanded to include a broader web presence that included not just websites, but also email, display, and search engine campaigns. Multiple websites for each product. And the building of some limited community feedback facilities. E-commerce in this period was growing again by more than 10% a year. In the reinvention stage, e-commerce has been transformed yet again by the rapid growth of Web 2.0, widespread adoption of consumer mobile devices such as smartphones and tablet computers, the expansion of e-commerce to include local goods and services, and the emergence of an on-demand service economy enabled by apps on mobile devices and cloud computing. Web 2.0 is a set of applications and technologies that enable user-generated content, such as online social networks, blogs, video and photo sharing sites, and wikis. This period can be seen as both a sociological, as well as a technological and business, phenomenon. The defining characteristics of this period are often characterized as the social, mobile, local online world. Entertainment content has developed as a major source of e-commerce revenues, and mobile devices have become entertainment centers, as well as on-the-go shopping devices for retail goods and services. Marketing has been transformed by the increasing use of social networks, word of mouth, viral marketing, and much more powerful data repositories and analytic tools for truly personal marketing. Firms have greatly expanded their online presence by moving beyond static web pages to social networks such as Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram in an attempt to surround the online consumer with coordinated marketing messages. These social networks share many common characteristics. First, they rely on user-generated content. Regular people are creating, sharing, and broadcasting content to huge audiences. They are inherently highly interactive, creating new opportunities for people to socially connect to others. They attract extremely large audiences. These audiences present marketers with extraordinary opportunities for targeted marketing and advertising. More recently, the reinvention of the web and e-commerce has resulted in a new set of on-demand, personal service businesses such as Uber, Airbnb, Instacart, Handy, and HomeJoy. These businesses have been able to tap into a large reservoir of unused assets and to create lucrative markets based on the mobile platform infrastructure. Table 1. 4 summarizes e-commerce in each of these 3 periods. This is the other half of the Table 1.4. E-commerce involves 3 broad interrelated themes. First theme is technology. To understand e-commerce, you need a basic understanding of the information technologies upon which it is built, including the Internet, the web, and mobile platform, and a host of complementary technologies: cloud computing, desktop computers, smartphones, tablet computers, local area networks, client/server computing, packet-switched communications, protocols such as TCP/IP, web servers, HTML, and relational and non-relational databases, among others. Second theme is business. Business. While technology provides the infrastructure, it is the business applications, the potential for extraordinary returns on investment, that create the interest and excitement in e-commerce. Therefore, you also need to understand some key business concepts such as electronic markets, information goods, business models, firm and industry value chains, industry structure, and consumer behavior in digital markets. Third theme is society. Understanding the pressures that global e-commerce places on contemporary society is critical to being successful in the e-commerce marketplace. The primary societal issues are intellectual property, individual privacy, and public policy. Let's discuss point 1. Web 2.0 is a set of applications and technologies that allows users to create, edit, and distribute content, share preferences, bookmarks, and online personas, participate in virtual lives, and build online communities. In other words, Web 2.0 is the set of new, advanced applications that have evolved along with the web's ability to support larger audiences and more involved content. Students may list Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, PhotoBucket, Google, Wikipedia, Second Life, Dig, and WordPress, among others, as example sites. Now let's discuss point 2. The Internet and the web are similar to other technologies that have changed commerce in the past in that each new technological innovation spawns explosive growth characterized by thousands of startup companies. Many of these fail in the period of retrenchment and consolidation that follows. As with other technological revolutions, eventually it is the large, already established firms who have the resources to exploit the new technology. The growth of the Internet, when compared to other electronic technologies such as radio and television, has been much more rapid. The Internet and web achieved a 53% share of U.S. households in only 10 years. In comparison, it took 38 years for radio and 17 for television to achieve a 30% share. Now let's come to point 3. One major limitation to the growth of e-commerce is the price of personal computers. Another limitation is the need for many people to learn complicated operating systems, at least in comparison to other technologies such as the television or the telephone. People must also learn a set of sophisticated skills to make effective use of the Internet and e-commerce capabilities. Another limitation is the unlikelihood that the digital shopping experience will ever replace the social and cultural experience that many seek from the traditional shopping environment. Finally, persistent global income inequality will exclude most of the world's population, who do not and probably will not in the foreseeable future, have access to telephones or PCs. Social and cultural limitations are likely to be tougher to overcome than technological limitations. Let's discuss point 4. Disintermediation means the removal of the market middlemen, the distributors, wholesalers, and other intermediaries between producers and consumers. The predicted benefits to Internet users include the decline of prices for products and services as manufacturers and content originators develop a direct relationship with their customers, and the elimination of payments to these middlemen. Disintermediation of markets would create intense competition. This, along with lowered transaction costs, would eliminate product brands, eventually resulting in the elimination of unfair competitive advantages and extraordinary returns on capital, the vision of friction-free commerce. Point 5 is interesting. The major advantages of being a first mover are the ability to build a brand name early on and establish a large customer base before followers enter the market, and the ability to build switching costs into the technology or services offered so that customers will find it discomforting to change to a late entering competitor. The major disadvantage is that historically, many first movers have not succeeded and are instead replaced by the fast follower, larger firms with the financial, marketing, legal, and production assets necessary to develop mature markets. Generally, only a handful of first mover firms become successful long-term businesses, as the start-up costs and time it takes to build a profitable business are often underestimated. Point 6 is also interesting. There are many factors that will help define the future of e-commerce over the next 5 years. The first factor is the technology of e-commerce, that is the Internet, the web, and the number of wireless appliances. This technology will continue to proliferate through all commercial activity. Overall revenues will continue to rise rapidly. And the numbers of both visitors and products and services sold will continue to grow. The second factor is price. Prices will rise to cover the real costs of doing business on the web and to pay investors a reasonable rate of return on their capital. Third factor is margins and profits. E-commerce margins and profits will rise to the level of traditional retailers. The difference between revenues from sales and cost of goods sold will be equal to that of traditional firms. Fourth factor is top e-commerce sites. The top e-commerce sites will increasingly obtain very well-known brands from strong, older firms. Fifth factor is the pure online companies. The number of successful purely online companies will further decline. The most successful e-commerce firms will use both traditional marketing channels such as physical stores, printed catalogs, and e-commerce websites.